Hey guys, it's Mikexingchen. Imagine this, it's late at night, you're all alone in your home, it's very dark outside. While you're nestled in the warmth of a blanket on the couch as you read a book to get yourself ready to sleep, you suddenly get startled by a sharp knock at the door. You get up, head to the door, pull back the curtain off your window. Outside, you see a pair of trendily dressed, olive-skinned teenagers. At first, you feel annoyed that some kids were disturbing you on a peaceful night, but you take a second look at them and realize that they're not the average ordinary teenagers that live in your hometown. These two adolescents have something horribly wrong with them. Their eyes. The creatures standing on your front porch have no white corneas, no colorful irises. All they have are a pair of big, black, shark-like eyes, which send chills down your spine as soon as you looked at them. And what's more creepy is that they insist that you help them. And as they stare piercingly at you with their dull, black, soulless eyes, they demand that you let them into your house. And despite a hypnotic temptation to give in to their demand and let them in, you try your best to resist doing their bidding. And you might be thinking, I don't live by Pet Cemetery. I don't have demon kids coming up to my door staring at me with big black soulless eyes. These things don't exist, but hold on a second. Modern mythology has always been riddled with unexplained phenomena. And among them are these legendary creatures known as the black-eyed people. They're also often referred to as black-eyed kids or black-eyed beings. But what they really are is a complete and total mystery. Most encounters with black-eyed people usually follow the same patterns. According to the majority of the accounts, a human-looking entity with pure black eyes will approach a person at their home or car asking to be let in. They usually have very dull or dry personality, as if they possess no personality at all. That is until they are told that they can't come in. At this point, they get very agitated, and those who encountered these creatures firsthand report a feeling of intense dread and fear when in the presence of these black-eyed beings, even if they can't exactly explain why. Well, I'm sure the pure black evil eyes has a lot to do with it. Anyway, the black-eyed people usually have very pale or sickly looking skin and very dark hair. The clothes they wear vary, but often people describe them to be wearing all black or very dark clothes. As I mentioned before, these creatures are more well known as the black-eyed kids. And it's a term that is used very often to generalize this phenomenon, since a high number of reported cases involve children with black eyes. In many cases, there will be 1 or 2 children between the ages of 6 and 16, and they are typically seen hitchhiking or panhandling or just encountered on doorsteps of residential homes. They often wear no shoes, and they also look dirty and disheveled. Much like their older counterparts, these children are devoid of personality until they get aggravated when denied entry into your home or your car. So let's talk about where these creatures might have originated from. The exact origin or primary source of the phenomenon of the black-eyed people is very difficult to pinpoint. The stories about these terrifying creatures slowly began to surface back in the mid to late 1990s through various internet message boards, basically the Facebook of that decade. However, one source of the phenomenon might have been the story of Brian Bethel in 1998. According to Bethel, 2 boys approached him while he was sitting in his parked car, and they asked him for a ride home. He was tempted to let the boys into his car, but he claimed that he was also overwhelmed by a fight or flight response, and so he resisted the urge to grant their request, which as a result only agitated the boys, and they grew even more insistent that they be let into the car. It was only then that Bethel noticed that the boys had cloak black eyes, and he felt momentarily paralyzed with fear. When Bethel shared his personal experience in a ghost hunter forum, it unleashed the legend of the black-eyed people onto the online world. Since then, cases and personal experiences of other people have been reported from all across the globe, with only few variances among different accounts. So are the black-eyed people real? Or were the increased sightings and alleged encounters with these unusual creatures simply a paranoid overreaction to everyday events? The evidence is not clear either way, but paranormal and supernatural explanations have been presented in support of their existence. Many encounters with the black-eyed beings consist of youthful and often dapper young men who use hypnotic voices and mesmerizing black eyes to convince and coerce their victims into doing their bidding. They also display an evidence inability to enter someone's property without first being invited. Sounds like like these guys. And while to date, attempted blood consumption has not figured into any reported encounters with these creatures, there are also suggestions that black-eyed beings might be the result of a strange synthesis of human and extraterrestrial DNA. This particular speculation originates from the vague reference of alleged female alien abductees having encountered half-human, half-alien babies that were supposedly created from these abductees' extracted unfertilized eggs. Many of these women have claimed to have come into contact with humanoid babies, which they describe to have olive-shaded skin and jet black hair and almond-shaped eyes. And then there are those who have considered these black-eyed beings as merely the lost spirits of the departed children, who are now sorrowfully wandering the mortal world seeking help from the living. However, given that the most eyewitness report feeling an almost overwhelming rush of fear when they encounter these beings, some believe that it is more likely that these black-eyed creatures are dangerous predators in disguise. And so, while this theory is no more or less reasonable than the others we have just presented, those predisposed to believing in the existence of angels and demons are more inclined to consider the fact that the black-eyed people might be old-fashioned shape-shifting critters from the bowels of hell. But as exciting as paranormal explanations to the black-eyed people phenomenon may be, there has never been a shred of physical evidence to suggest that these creatures are physically present in any way, or if they actually exist. So if we cannot say that the black-eyed people are real due to this lack of evidence supporting their existence, what else could they possibly be? This is where psychology and medical science presented several interesting possibilities. In psychology, the first explanation is people's overreaction on a particular event they had been mentally prepared for. This preparation is called priming. In priming, presuggestion has already been placed into the mind, and only an activator stimulus that is appropriately vague under the right conditions set off the connection between the knowledge in the brain and the senses. A false connection is then made between the two, leading people to a flawed conclusion that is not supported by actual evidence. For example, if you visit an old house in the middle of the day and you hear stories about it being haunted, you probably won't be scared at all. You might not be as scared as if you visited the same place in the middle of the night or during an intense thunderstorm. In those cases, your perceptions of the situation will change drastically. In short, priming, frame of reference, and context all play important roles in how people perceive events, experiences, and even other people. All these factors combine together to create a terrifying experience, even if we would ordinarily dismiss such scary ideas for their absurdity. And then there's the medical explanation. The dilation of the pupil in the human eye is called Mydriasis, and the term is used to refer to pupil dilation that is not the result of psychological causes like drugs, illness, or injury. There are several conditions that can cause a pupil to expand beyond what most people have typically observed. A blown pupil, for example, refers to a condition where the pupils are dilated beyond the normal limits due to a possible increase in intracranial pressure or brain hemorrhaging. Drugs, traumatic damage to the iris, third cranial nerve palsy, and pharmacological dilation, among many others, may also bring about a similar effect. But the thing is, none of these medical causes could lead to a fully black-eyed entity. But if combined with the right atmospheric parameters and were primed conditioning, it may influence the brain to make a connection between confusing and unknown sensory data and information held in long-term memory. And so an encounter with a supposed black-eyed being is created in our minds where there really isn't one. So what do you think, guys? Do you believe that black-eyed people like these really do exist? Or do you think this is nothing but an urban legend that has taken on a life of its own after it was introduced to the world? Personally, I'm not sure. I know there are people, or maybe there are people, or maybe they're not people. There are those among us who are different than us. I'm not saying they're the X-Men or some hybrid alien children. I'm just saying I believe that there are people among us who are different. Maybe they're more enlightened. Maybe they're time travelers. I don't know. But when it comes to the black-eyed people, I'm not really sure I can wrap my head around this one. Because first of all, let's say these people do exist and they just knock on your door or knock on your car window and ask to be let in, and they somehow are very persuasive and very almost hypnotically compelling. If all that is true, then I'm sure there's a ton of people that would have let them into their car or let them into their house, and then what? I don't know, maybe these are vampires that will come into your car or your house, suck your blood, wipe your memory, and then take off. So this one really doesn't add up for me, but hey, what do I know? So let me know if you think that the black-eyed people or the black-eyed children actually do exist, and if so, who or what do you think they are? And guys, lately I've been doing a lot of videos on topics like this one that you have recommended to me, so keep sending them in. Let me know in the comments below. Message me, let me know what other interesting topics I should cover on this channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you later.